Hey everyone, welcome to tonight's episode. I am your host, Tom. Thanks for joining us on our weekly live stream where we track the progress of Australia's EV adoption, internally as well as externally amongst ourselves with the rest of the world. Each week we chat to special guests from the EV and renewable space. Hello, if you're watching this stream live, feel free to leave a comment in the live chat if you're a channel subscriber. A very warm welcome to also if you're watching this on replay. And an extra warm welcome to if you're listening to us via podcast. We will be distributing the audio from our live streams from now on to your favorite podcast directories. So if you are listening from your car, for example, in this lovely Genesis GV60, hello and welcome. If you are watching us from somewhere exotic or listening to us from somewhere exotic or not even that exotic, send us a photo from where you're watching or listening from and I'll put it up on our next stream. All right, I want to welcome our regulars, of course, Riz and Rahul. Hello, gentlemen. How are we today?
Going well, Tom. Hey, Rahul. How are we?
Very good. Thank you, Riz and Tom.
Nice to have you both as usual, of course. Looking forward to tonight's stream, I'm sure.
Should be very exciting.
Yeah,
Electric bikes.
Yeah. All right. Well, I just want to also thank our live stream partners for tonight as well. Of course, Joe Tesla Accessories, Hansho, car modifications, as well as EVSE electric car chargers. Use those coupon codes you can see on the screen there in front of you. I'll also leave details in the video description as well. And also a special coupon code tonight for everyone watching, LUDFCLAU10 for 10% off tickets at Fully Charged Live. And yes, that gentleman you are seeing there could potentially be next week's guest. We'll have more information for you coming up later in the show, of course. All right, so stay tuned, but that's the coupon code for 10% off tickets to Fully Charged Live. And we've got an accessory of the week, of course, as usual. This week we are promoting the portable Type 2 EV charging cable with adaptable tails from EVSE. There's a video as well, which I'll leave a link to in the video description. So check that out. But this is very handy equipment to carry with you if you're going on a trip somewhere. You guys might remember Neil we had on recently who did a trip around Australia. He checked out that video and left a comment on the comment section, which he endorsed as well. He said that'd be very handy on a long road trip as well. So check that out. And also want to quick shout out to members, of course, watching tonight. I can see a few on the chat there. Hello, everyone. Shout out to our long-serving members. That's Scott McGregor, Charles Gregory, Riz Akhtar, of course, Viet Hoang, Greg Wilson, Gaffer, Alicia Dugan, Paula Chappell, Scott Stanley. Those of you got the red little icon. That means you've been around for 12 months or more. So we thank you very much for your support tonight. And coming up on the stream, we've got our interview, of course, with Dennis Savic from Savic Motorcycles. And after that, we will talk about new and used EV sales, DC charging news, EV charging eye candy, and Tesla and other EV news as well. So stay tuned. We've got some more coming up later on. All right, so speaking of Dennis, Savic Motorcycles, this is who we've got tonight. So I'm going to read to you from the About Us page from Savic Motorcycles. A message from Dennis. Welcome to Savic Motorcycles, Australia's first high-performance electric motorcycle manufacturer. Since I was 14, I've dreamed about building an electric motorcycle. 2018, I brought my dream to reality by building the first Savic prototype and unveiling it to the public at the Motor Expo Melbourne. Since then, it's been a wild ride, full of highs and occasional lows, before we could bring you the first product in our e-mobility portfolio, our flagship C-Series motorcycle. Our goal is to disrupt the world's two-wheeled EV industry as a revolutionary brand and share our passion for carbon-free travel without ever compromising on performance. Welcome to the future of electric mobility in Australia. We're amped to have you on board. Dennis Savic, CEO and founder of Savic Motorcycles. And speaking of, said Dennis, we might get him on the show right now. Here he is. Dennis, hello. Welcome to Ludicrous Feed Live.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
No, thank you very much for being on the show. I'm sure we're going to have a great chat tonight. And we've got comments as well from the live stream, so we might pop them up as well as we see fit. So Dennis is going to hang around for the next half an hour or so and answer some questions for us. Here we go. So Dennis, let's go back to when you were 14, when it all began, as you said in your About Us. Tell us about those dreams of building an electric motorcycle all those years ago.
Yeah, sure. So and it sounds like a made-up story. I promise it isn't. When I was in high school in a metalwork class, I finished all my work and the teacher said, now you can build anything. And I was trying to think of what I wanted to build. And I decided I wanted to build a motorcycle. But the teacher kind of laughed at me and said, you've got to be an engineer to do that. And that's what sent me down the engineering pathway. And then it was probably a couple of years later that I stumbled across EV and thought that might be the future. And the more I learned about it, the more I liked it. And so, yeah, I mean, that was a long time ago now. So it's pretty awesome that it's coming to fruition.
Yeah, fantastic. Congratulations, Dennis. You've done so well in those years. So I'm sure there's more to come as well. But so in 2018, you built your very first Savic prototype and unveiled it at the Moto Expo in Melbourne. Tell us about that event and how was it first received compared to how it's received now?
I'll take a step back. So we built a conversion prototype back in 2015 under like a different brand name. And then we built our first ground up bike, which looks radically different to the bike we've got now. It had like a Ducati style twin spar frame. And that was in 2016. And so 2018 was the first time we launched as Savic Motorcycles with the new design of the Cafe Racer design with the polished tank and stuff. We didn't know what to expect. We had no prior marketing done. We didn't have a website, I don't think. I don't think we even had a Facebook page. I think we made the Facebook page the night before the launch. And within 3 days, there were international articles about our bike, and we were just totally blown away. We had people asking if they could put in orders. We didn't have an order process, so we were just like writing names on pieces of paper. So yeah, it was really well received. And look, I mean, it naturally, when it comes to design, you're going to get people that love it and you're going to get people that don't love it. And there's definitely people that didn't love it, but I'd say like 95+% of people were absolutely frothed over it. So we knew we were on the right path.
Yeah, no, congratulations on the brand. It looks amazing. It looks fantastic. And it's great to hear, stuff like, setting up the Facebook page the night before. I love it. I love those origin stories. So thanks for sharing that.
No worries.
What's the reaction like when you pull up at the lights in your Savic with no engine throttle sound when another bikie comes along?
Look, the reactions are really good, and it's surprising because it's so quiet. You don't really you'd think people wouldn't notice it. And I mean, we had a WA customer event, and we did a bunch of content creation in WA, and I'm originally a Perth boy, and so riding the bike around Perth, it was insane to experience like how much people's heads turned, how much people smiled and took photos. We had like kids pointing at it. It was really cool. But like I remember distinctly pulling up to the lights one time, and there was a dude in a really beat up lifted 4-wheel drive pull up next to me, and I thought, oh no, I'm gonna get yelled at or something. And the dude was just so into it, big thumbs up, massive grin. So yeah, a lot of double takes, and we have people on social media constantly saying they've seen it around and stuff like that. So it's really cool, man. It's the best experience.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear. I mean, I've seen it in the flesh and at some of the expos that you've been to, so it is a cool looking bike. Let's go a bit philosophical now, Dennis. Why do motorcycles need to be electric in 2022 and beyond? Going deep now.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try really hard not to be biased here. Obviously, starting a business that sells electric motorcycles. I will say, like, full disclaimer up front, like I'm a rev head by nature. So like I do love petrol vehicles. I love petrol bikes. I love V8s and stuff like that as well. So I am a rev head at heart, but like the things that make me passionate about EVs is the torque curve, the efficiency, the smoothness, and how quiet they are. Like it's just a totally different riding experience. And so, and being an engineer, I think of the word need and I go, well, they don't need to be, but it's pretty awesome. Like when you do ride an electric bike, like it's totally different. And so, yeah, hopefully we'll start test rides or end of this year or Q1 next year, and we'll get people like on them and get to experience that as well. So, yeah, it's pretty awesome. And then like to think that of the possibility of charging a home energy storage system with solar panels, and then charging your bike with it, or going solar direct to your bike and then using that to ride around, like that's a phenomenal concept. I'm really excited to get to that stage. So yeah, I think it's the future.
Yeah, that's very encouraging, because what you said about the torque curve, the smooth ride, I mean, obviously that translates over to four wheels as well. So they're the reasons
100%.
why I love electric. Yep.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
There's so much fun.
Yeah. I mean, what were some of the challenges? I mean, what are some of the challenges starting an EV motorcycle company from scratch? We haven't got all night, but just give us a few.
Yeah, I'll name like just a couple off the top of my head. I think supply chain is super hard to break into. Cars even more so. So cars have anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500 individual components. We're lucky that we're doing bikes. We're down to 300, 350. But still, that's a lot of parts to design and or source. And not just source, but source at a reasonable price for the right quality that can deliver at the right volume at the right time. It is a very complex network. And I mean, you kindly commented on our brand before, and it's the same with our supply chain. We've got a phenomenal team, like in all these areas, and we've got some really talented people behind it. So it does make it a lot easier. So supply chain is definitely really hard to do. We think we've nailed it. We think we've got a good supply chain now, and it's just about managing those suppliers and orders and things like that. One of the other limits is that it's expensive. It's expensive to develop a product from the ground up. And so, we engineered our own rims, we engineered our own swing arm, our frames, our battery pack, our own motor. We actually have a finger in designing ourselves. Virtually very, very little on this bike is off the shelf. And so that's very hard to do, just from an engineering perspective, a testing perspective, compliance. Yeah. And so again, I'll mention the team again. Like, I think building a really good team is a challenge normally. We're lucky, I think. We've got a very aspirational product. We've got a really cool brand. So that helps attract talent. But when you attract all kinds of talent, it's very hard to figure out who's genuinely passionate and who's just after a cool job, if that makes sense. And I'm really, like, honestly, and I say this to the team, probably maybe too much, maybe not. It's awesome to work with so many passionate people. And, even some of the team have described, everyone that works in our business as a support network. So it's like, that's awesome. We've got like a really cool culture. So yeah, a few of the challenges, just to name a few.
No, it doesn't sound easy at all. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there, having a good team behind you that's passionate about what you do. That's very good to hear for any business model. So yeah, well done once again. We've got some questions in the chat. Keep them coming, everyone. We'll put them up to Dennis very shortly. But let's talk a little bit about the product itself. I've got the C-Series up here. You've got the Alpha and Delta models, I believe. We'll just put the Alpha model up here, which is the top spec one, 26,990 ride away, range of 200 kilometers, 4 hours to charge on level 2 charger. And then we've got the Delta one, which is 19,990 drive away, 150 kilometers, slightly slower acceleration, but still pretty quick, in my opinion. Can you tell us a bit about some of the features that actually separate an EV motorbike from a petrol motorbike?
Yeah, I think it's hard to speak on behalf of all EVs because there's a little bit of difference between us and some of the other EV bikes out there. But one area that we really like to focus on is design. And so we've gone with a single-sided swing arm to give it that naked look from the right side, as you can see there. We really like retro mod type design, so taking classic design, merging it with some really cool technology. And I think one of the things that is pretty different between most EV motorcycles is their powertrain architecture. So in terms of the motor itself, it's designed for that specific architecture. And so we've got a proprietary motor design that really works well for our vehicle. But I think software is going to be a big key to our differentiator and our strategy as we grow. And, we've developed our own touchscreen instrument cluster, our own touchscreen dash for the bike, which is pretty rare on motorbikes. And then we also program our own vehicle control unit. We've developed our own over-the-air update system. And so, there's a lot of opportunity that comes with that infrastructure that we've set ourselves up with. And so we think that that'll be a really key part in helping our bikes stand out against the others. But of course, there's a lot of great companies out there working on this stuff too. So, not to take anything away from them.
Yeah, over-the-air software updates look very inviting, and I guess you feel like riding a new bike every time you get one, I suppose. Yeah. In terms of performance, how does this compare to a petrol-powered bike of kind of equivalent pricing?
It's really hard to compare electric to petrol, and I think that's becoming common knowledge. Like the torque curves are totally different. But with our acceleration targets and performance, you're probably looking at a 600 to 1,000 cc bike off the line. Now, our bikes are direct drive, so we don't have a gearbox in the bike. So naturally, with the torque curve of an electric motor, as you approach top speed, you're going to lose some of that power. So while we're very competitive off the line, like most EVs, when you start hitting, 150 k's an hour, that's the point at which petrol bikes, change gears and then blast further. But we didn't see that, getting from 150 to 300 k's an hour as a necessity for our product. So we decided to just bite the bullet and go direct drive. But yeah, it's pretty similar, I think, in terms of performance. In terms of range, we advertise a combined range of 200, maybe slightly more kilometers an hour. That's city and freeway. And so that's pretty similar to like a full tank of petrol. Like some petrol bikes do less because they've got really small tanks. Others do a lot more because they're touring bikes. It really depends. And I think customers that have placed orders with us are very well aware, and their expectation, like we don't really have an education piece in our customer journey. A lot of customers do a lot of research up front, accept that that's the limitation of electric vehicles, and then place an order, which is really cool and a testament to the general public's opinion at this stage, I think.
Yeah, well, that was my next question. Who are the early adopters at the moment? I suppose you've just mentioned it. People who've done a lot of research, know what they're buying into.
Yeah, I think like in terms of traditional demographics, the motorcycle industry is very heavily male dominated. So most of our first customers are men, and most of them are between the ages of 30 and 60. And so that's traditional demographics. But in terms of, interests and things like that, we've got a really broad spectrum of customers. So anywhere from CTOs to, farmers or people that live in regional areas, which I didn't expect, to be honest. If someone's living regionally, you think they would need to travel really far, whereas no, it's just to go down to the cafe or whatever on the weekend or something. It's a very, very interesting spectrum of people. Initially, when we were going to market, we thought, oh, only techies might buy this bike, or we should just try and tailor our advertising to tech people. And no, it couldn't be further, man. Like a lot of people, some of our first customers are lifelong. I probably shouldn't say the brand name, but lifelong.
Oh, I think Dennis has dropped out. Yeah, so that's fascinating from Dennis there. What do you think, Riz?
Oh, it's pretty exciting, like to see such sort of innovation happening right here in Australia.
Yeah.
From all the challenges that he mentioned, manufacturing, suppliers. You know, one of the reasons why Holden and Ford decided to pull the pin after Toyota was one of the last ones. When the first one decided to go, the manufacturers and suppliers left. So yeah, it's very hard to manufacture anything here. So well done to the Savic team for making it happen.
Yeah. Now, all good, Dennis. Now you were saying that you didn't expect the kind of people who are buying your bikes currently.
Yeah. Look, just all walks of life, really. But yeah.
Yeah, and that's great to hear. I mean, you will be selling directly to customers, I presume, when production sort of ramps up.
Yep. Yeah. That's right.
How many orders does Savic currently have? Are you on the road kind of to profitability yet at this stage?
Well, we've got 235 pre-orders so far. We've got 15 spots left for the second production run. We had 50 in the first and 200 in the second, so they've pretty much all sold out. And we start production Q1 next year. Start serial production Q1 next year. And in terms of profitability, by the end of 2023, we will have demonstrated a break-even model at the production volumes we're talking. So that's really exciting. And in fact, like that's virtually unheard of in the automotive world, to have that low of a production volume at a competitive price and be break even and trending towards profitable. I think that's a big testament to the supply chain team, because without them that wouldn't happen and our cost reduction objectives wouldn't have happened. And then selling direct to customers, we ummed and ahed about doing that versus the traditional distribution. But the reality is electric vehicles today, and maybe it's trending downwards, but not as quickly as we'd like. The cost of making electric vehicles is so much higher than petrol, and largely due to the battery packs. And so when you have a high starting cost of manufacture and a traditional distribution model, you've got margin on margin. And so that's where, high manufacture cost, traditional distribution results basically in high RRP. So or retail price. So the only way that we could bring customers a designer product with really good features at a reasonable price was by selling direct to them and having obviously, a business to stand on its own two legs and continue producing products and things like that. So, it just made a lot of sense. A lot harder to do because there's a lot more work involved. You're not just selling from the factory and then, the vehicles are in the abyss. You've got every step of the process. You've got a lot of customers to manage. And so the marketing team are doing a lot of amazing work in automation in terms of the customer journey, but then also they're now doing the groundwork for after sales and things like that. So we're trying to make life really easy for customers, but it just means we have a lot of work to do to set that up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that vertical integration, we've seen what Tesla's done in the last few years, so the rewards are very much, very fruitful at the end.
Yeah.
We'll watch your journey for sure. We've got a question from one of our viewers, Gaffer. He asks, Dennis, when you get going, what do you think a production rate will be, let's say end of 2023?
Yeah, it's funny. Our CMO, our chief marketing officer, we had a chat about this interview, and one of the things she said was, don't talk about the production rate. Look, we're at this stage, so when it comes to production, you can run before you crawl. but it's very expensive and mistakes are very expensive. And so because we're a startup, and one of the challenges we've had is raising capital for our business. It's very hard to do in general, especially in the current economic climate. So we have to be very calculated in how we progress. And so we've decided to not baby step it, but start methodically. And basically Q1 next year, our goal is to build 25 vehicles. And basically have 25 vehicles produced and delivered to customers on a quarterly basis next year. I apologize to our CMO, spilling the beans on it a bit. But basically from there, we can ramp up to 25 units a month very quickly. And then you put a second shift on and all of a sudden you're at 50 units a month. And so, our virtual COO has worked out that we could probably do 1,000 vehicles a year out of our current facility. It's all about getting started, making sure all the processes are correct, everything flows properly in terms of material flow through the production facility. And then once you've got that right, ramping it up comes with its own challenges, but it's simpler than the setup phase. So, hopefully by the end of next year, we will have 100-ish vehicles delivered to customers.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for nominating a number. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'd missed it earlier. You said the motorcycles are all produced and assembled in Australia?
Yes. Yep. So we outsource component manufacture. So we've got about 20 to 25 suppliers globally, and that's through various geographic locations. So we saw some stuff from China, we saw some stuff from India, Netherlands, Germany, Italy, and a couple of other places. And basically we've done that to protect our IP predominantly. So we get parts made from all over. We've got 3 levels of backup suppliers in various locations as well, because of COVID, to have that redundancy. And then we import all the parts into Melbourne and we assemble the vehicles ourselves in our own facility in Melbourne. So I like to be really transparent about that. I don't want to, pretend or mislead anyone that we're manufacturing every component in Australia. It's just not the case. And most people understand that and understand that that's necessary. And so we hope that in time we integrate vertically a bit more, and there are business cases around bringing some manufacturing in-house. But you've got to start somewhere. And so we've done the most we can with what we've got.
No, that's a very good answer. As you said, it's impossible to do everything in the one spot. So you're getting the best from a worldwide village, and that's great to hear. How do you see the relationship or partnership with Bosch working at mass production level?
Well, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Bosch have been amazing to work with so far. They've really supported us, and through the prototype phase, developing our ABS, we had things come up that we hadn't planned for, and Bosch were really understanding and worked with us to rectify those, we didn't anticipate the aggressiveness of some of Bosch's testing procedures on our vehicle. And so it was really great. Like, the bike actually held up really, really well, and performed really well. So that was good. And now that we've developed our ABS unit with Bosch, we are placing our first production order, if not this month, I believe next month, for our first batch of production. And so, basically we'll just keep ordering parts, ABS units from them as we grow. And I think the current ABS unit, I'm getting a little bit technical here, but they're upgrading their system. So we'll probably buy a whole bunch of their ABS units to last us a couple of years down the track. But to summarize, they've been really good to work with, and we'll keep that relationship healthy, I think.
Well, fantastic, Dennis. Well, I mean, are you still raising capital? Are you still looking for investors?
Yeah, we look. Raising capital never really stops. You're always kind of hustling, I suppose. We are closing a round at the moment. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say that technically. I probably shouldn't have said that. But yeah, look, in startup land, you raise capital, you hit milestones, you raise more capital, you hit more milestones, and so on and so forth. And the numbers just get bigger and bigger in terms of what you're delivering and how much you're asking for. And so, so we're always open to conversations with potential investors. And I think there's even an investor sign up, expression of interest page on our website. So, always looking.
Good. Well, look, Dennis, I will let you go. I just want to thank you very much again for coming on the show. It's been an unbelievably insightful conversation. It sounds like you've got a great team behind you. You're doing great work at Savic, and I guess there's a lot of interest, as you can see, from your community, and we wish you all the very best moving forward.
Thank you so much for having me on, guys. Really do appreciate it, and all the best.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thanks, Dennis. Take care. We'll speak to you soon. Wow, that was amazing. Thanks again to Dennis for chatting with us. He's a very busy man, so he had to leave early there. But if you've got any questions or comments for Dennis, leave them in the live chat. We'll try and pass them on. Or if you're watching on replay, leave a comment below. Or send me an email if you're listening on podcast. We'll try and pass them on. So, thank you, Dennis Savic from Savic Motorcycles. Mm-hmm. Rahul, have you been on a e-bike or anything recently like that?
Motorbike, yes, but not on something so gorgeous as a Savic motorcycle. The fact that it's Australian made, by a local Australian, and I love what Dennis was talking about, an obsession which started when he was a kid. The fact that he's a startup, taking on, I guess, some of the bigger names in the motorbike industry. Amazing to see a Perth boy making it successful. I wish him a massive amount of success.
Yeah, 100%. And Riz, you've ridden bikes before in the past?
Yeah, definitely not electric ones back in the day, but yeah, I think it's really cool what they're trying to do. Big advocate of manufacturing, and just needs to happen here. And these guys are doing the best that they can to make it all happen and get the right experts from all around the world to source and supply parts, supply chains, and make it all happen. I really hope that they can, over the coming months, get some prototypes out for test rides and rest. And they've got, sounds like, pretty substantial amount of customers they've already got that they've got to fulfill orders for. So it'll keep them busy for a little while, and very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I am in absolute awe at anyone who attempts vertical integration from, all the way from production to marketing and sales. It's unbelievable effort there from the guys at Savic, and it sounds like he's got a good team behind him as well. So that's crucial behind any business too. All right, and we've got questions here from Gaffer again. Will we get test rides at Fully Charged live? Well, I guess we'll have to see, Gaffer. I've got a bit of news as well for those of you who joined after the intro about Fully Charged live. We'll talk about that in a second. I don't know whether BYO cables, we can probably carry that in bikes. There's not much room in that Cafe Series rider. I'll have to find tethered charging stations, I think. Might be hard to fit one in the saddle there, if there is one. All right, let's move on with the rest of tonight's show. We've got our regular segments, of course, for those of you watching. Let's talk about EV sales as usual. Riz has got a chart as always for us. This is BYD uptake trends in Queensland.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're looking at the data coming out of Queensland for last month, and BYD seemed to be doing fairly well up there. Just as a bit of a comparison, Tesla delivered 300 odd cars in October. I know it's not their main delivery run as such, but given BYD and they're still getting more cars into the country, it's good to see. And it's sort of, they didn't report their sales figures Australia-wide for October via VFAX, but just looking at state-by-state data, it just shows that they're clearly the number 2 best-selling EV brand already in their sort of second month of formal full-month deliveries. So, yeah, November will be interesting, and I think by early next year, they'll be consistently be delivering cars all around Australia. So it's great to see.
No, definitely. I think, if we keep following BYD over the next few months, I think those numbers will ramp up. And I can see why Dennis didn't want to name production rates, because I guess BYD named their production rate early this year. And we'll see. We'll see what happens in 2023. Hopefully they get more cars into the country, for sure. Let's have a look at some slides about used EVs now. This is always fascinating to see what it's doing, particularly with the Tesla market. We can see here Riz's charts that the 3s and the Ys are starting to taper and probably falling as well with number of listings in Australia.
Yeah, that's I ran the numbers today, and it looks like both 3 and Ys are on the decline. I think what's more interesting is the 3s themselves, because it seems that they have the prices are coming down now. So let's say, I think 6 weeks ago, you couldn't find a Model 3 for under 65, odd $1,000, even those that are 2 years old with like 60 plus thousand Ks. There's some now that are sort of listed around early 50s. Yes, they have high Ks, 80,000 plus Ks, but they're generally being sold by genuine buyers who have received their Model Y now. So top tip, look for a private seller. And yeah, genuinely there's good options available now from a Model 3's point of view. And we know that, Teslas don't age as much as some of the other traditional cars because of software updates. So anyone's in the market looking for one, considering that versus placing an order on a new one, you can pick up a relatively recently sort of listed Model 3 for between 50 and 60,000. There's a few options now.
Would you say in your experience that the unusual second-hand pricing we've seen in the last year or so coming back to normality?
Yeah, I think that will happen, particularly for Model 3s. It will happen. Model Ys, today I was having a look, and it's still close to $80,000, the average selling price. And sort of on the more lower end, people are still asking 75 grand for a rear wheel drive. And this pretty much every car that's in the country at the moment were first 2 days of orders for Model Y. So they got the old discounted price, which was, I think, $5,000 less than what people can purchase a rear-wheel drive for today. So clear amount of flipping going on, but I think the important thing is that there is some segments in the market that are starting to come down. Also noticed MG ZSs. There's a lot more listings of the last generation ZS up now. Yes, the range was sort of average on that car, but people looking at purchasing an EV, you can pick them up for sort of early 40,000s now. At one stage, there was only about 3 of them up for sale on Facebook Marketplace and car sales, and they were going for like 48,000, well above what people paid for them. So that's changed pretty quickly, and I feel that more of those will be coming up for sale as well. So used EV market's improving.
Okay, good. Well, we definitely need more used EVs in Australia. That'll help bolster the numbers in the country for sure. Let's move on now to... Oh, thanks, Riz, by the way. Riz from Carloop, ladies and gentlemen. If you want information, that's where you go, Carloop. All right, so let's have a look at some EV charging eye candy. This is one of my favorite segments of the show. Looking at some chargers from around the world to give our installers some ideas. So we've been tracking this one for a while. This is in the UK, sourced from MFG. Some brightly lit chargers and well-painted signs as well. I like it. I like the roof. I think personally I would like some cover with those chargers when you're charging. It's important to cover yourself from the elements. So good tidy install there. This one is a whole bunch of Tesla superchargers in Germany. And I can see a non-Tesla charging as well. Very interesting.
Is that a service car? It says charge. Corp on it or Charge CEO?
Yeah, could be. Yeah, that could be a vision of the future here in New South Wales anyway, in the next 2 years. Yeah, interesting. And the next one is a series from Europe as well, Spain. I've seen this design before. This must be a trademark for this company or this installer. It's like for those of you listening, it's like I guess a cat tree-like canopy cover with panels on top, brown and sort of yellow colored. Yeah, it's quite distinct, quite unique. And this one's in Spain. And then this one's in France with a similar design as well under construction. Yeah, that's good. Presumably with shops and amenities. That's the future. All right, let's move on to a couple of other things. Let's talk about EV events. So, Polestar have actually announced a road show they're doing for their Roadster. Their Polestar 6, they're calling it, formerly known as the O2 Roadster concept, something like that. They're doing their rounds on the east coast of Australia. I've put them up there to help them advertise a bit. So November 14th to 16th, which is next Monday to Wednesday, they'll be in Melbourne. 2 Tonne Max, 124 Langford Street, North Melbourne. And also I will be there as well on that Monday, 14th of November in the afternoon. So come and say good day if you want to say hello. I'll be there in Melbourne. 22nd to the 24th of November in Brisbane, Lightspace, 2 Scanlon Street, Fortitude Valley. And then finally 28th to the 30th of November in Sydney at the end of the month at Pix on Location, Studio 725 Hyle Street, Alexandria. So you want to check out this funky looking Roadster from Polestar? Come check it out. All right, let's move on to the next slide. We've got, of course, I sort of alluded to this at the start of the stream before Dennis came on. So if you want tickets to Fully Charged live in Sydney on the 11th and 12th of March 2023, that's the coupon code there, LUDFCLAU10. That's LUDFCLAU10, all capitals, for 10% off your tickets. And the coupon code and the link will be in the video description. And as my slide says, next week's guest is the one only Robert Llewellyn from Fully Charged Live. He'll be joining us as our special guest next week, 17th of November. So do not miss that one. We'll get to hear Robert talk about Fully Charged Live and all about EVs as well, I imagine. So yeah, got the news this morning and very thankful to him for coming on the show. Cannot wait. So get your questions ready for Robert. He loves a chat. All right, so let's move on to Tesla news. So we've got, so last week, those of you who joined us, we talked about New South Wales government funding for Tesla superchargers, which means that they must open it to all non-Tesla EVs as well. And of course, Riz very kindly wrote this article in The Driven, Riz Actor, and then this was picked up as well in other publications. So it was picked up by Rob from Tesla Daily. Tesla Daily, he talked about it as well. So it was nice to get a shout out too. Fantastic. So yeah, nice to drop some news there on this show. And this is Riz, I think you supply these pictures. This is from an expo in China for Model S, Model X that I can see.
Yeah, we've seen that Model S when it sort of landed in China. There were some pictures and videos around it getting offloaded a truck, and now it's at the Import Expo in Shanghai. Tesla's got a booth there. It was 5th to the 10th, so today must have been the last day. They even had the Optimus there. So clearly Tesla going out there showcasing the best. A lot of these expos, it's not so much getting consumers. They're just trying to gauge interest and attract some of the smartest and best people to go and work for them. So we've seen it before. They'll take the Cybertruck prototype out to like uni and colleges in the States. Similar sort of thing. They'll get out there and you never know, there could be people there walking around that in 3 years' time could be on Tesla's autopilot team, working on some real cool stuff. So showcasing the best, and apparently this stall stole the show. thousands of people came and visited it, and good to see the Model S and Model X plaid there for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. They look really, really good. I'm just going to put some comments here from Savic Motorcycles, who have joined us again through the live chat. So I might just pop them up here. Their handle is tweeting, putting comments in the live chat. Here we go. Yes, we will be holding test drives at Fully Charged. Fantastic. There you go. If you want to ride a Savic, head along to Fully Charged live in Sydney in March. And also we're looking to host a test ride tour next year. Sign up to our newsletter to keep updated. Excellent. Also we're looking at handy storage for the charging cable, although most people will be charging at home. Okay, there you go. There will be somewhere to put those charging cables. Thank you for that, Savic Motorcycles. Nice to see you there. And let's move on with some more Tesla news, which we picked up, I think it was yesterday. News about Tesla destination chargers. So those of you who are Tesla owners might have received this in your inbox today. Starting November 10, 2022, select destination charging sites may have a per kilowatt hour cost. To view local charge rates, tap the destination charging map pin on your in-car touchscreen or find the location in your Tesla app. So I went digging a little bit in my Tesla app, and if you want to find where the locations are, go to the or click on your icon in the top right corner of the app, and then flick across to charge your non-Tesla icon, and then you'll see that there are locations in your area. And from what I could see, the ones in Sydney were all in private buildings. There weren't any public ones that I could see nearby in the CBD. They look like sort of new private installations. For example, this one in Zinc Apartments, 10 wall connectors, charging fees of 29 cents per kilowatt hour. And looks like you've got to scan a QR code on the side of the unit maybe to get it going. I suspect that this is probably for version 3 or generation 3 Tesla wall connectors, which are networked. And I think Tesla did hint at this last year in a tweet or a news release that they will be potentially charging through those destination chargers. So if you're rocking up to a Gen 2 or Gen 1 charger, I think you're pretty safe. But if you're a Gen 3, I'd probably just look in your app just to be sure before you start charging. All right, let's move on now. And we've got some BYD news. This is a chart again from Riz about sales growth around the world.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Once again, I think since about Feb, they've been increasing production and sales, and that's another high for them. Over 217,816 cars produced for the month. Now that is their pure EVs as well as their plug-in hybrids. I think the battery electric vehicles accounted for around 103,000 of those were pure electric vehicles. And they're getting to, I think, around 9,000 odd EVs that they're exporting. So we don't really get the numbers for how many are coming to Australia, but generally speaking, that's how many they're starting to export on a monthly basis. So it's going to be interesting to see their growth, and next year looks like a massive year for them, and we'll be seeing a lot more BYDs in Australia too.
Yeah, they're definitely slotting in that affordable segment in Australia, but it looks like they're very much fulfilling the orders through the domestic market. Huge demand in China, of course, for BYD and other new energy vehicles. Let's have a look at some other EV news this week. So the news out of the TOC EVA racing team, Tesla Owners Club Electric Vehicle Racing Team completed the 2022 Perth to Sydney Marathon. That was on Sunday, 4 days ago. 5,415 kilometers, 31 DC charging sessions with that biofuel charger that's been following it. Over 1,400 kilowatt hours used over 10 days, delivered with 5 mobile charging assets. Thanks to Polestar Australia and AmpCharge for supporting this great event. So yeah, those of you who saw that in Sydney at the finish line, congratulations to you all. Great journey and showing that it can be done. So inspiring others. We'd love to see, of course, more permanent DC chargers along that route to make it accessible for everyone as well moving forward. For sure. So well done, team. And it looks like the EV legislation for the EV discount is stuck in the Senate as the Greens and Labor debate what should be included. My understanding is that they're still debating whether plug-in hybrids should be counted in this subsidy. I think that's the main sticking point at this stage. Tell me what you guys and girls think in the live chat there. Should PHEVs be included in this EV discount? A bit controversial, I think. More comments from Savic Motorcycles about the length of the cable. We'll have a smaller length that comes with the bike for free, and then we'll have longer cables available at an additional cost for charging. Fantastic. Thank you for being so engaging too. Appreciate that. It's great to see. And also, we decided against DC charging due to the extra part cost, weight, and quicker battery degradation, but we are looking into it for a future product. Okay. There you go. I've got a video out with the late Mark Kingston, who had a Harley Livewire, who we tried DC charging as well. So EV motorcycles can DC charge. That's good to see. We've got, no PHEVs at the moment included in this legislation. So we know where we stand, everyone. Sorry, Riz, you were about to say?
Yeah, the market of PHEVs is interesting, right? Like, apart from, I don't know, Outlander, I think MG's got one now. It is quite limited. And the pricing on some of these plug-in hybrids is approaching the ATO 3 level. So in this day and age, I think Australia more than likely will bypass the big PHEV uptake that's happening in other countries and go straight to battery electric. That is an advantage of having a slower initial uptake. So thanks, Goma, for that. But I think we will be getting there pretty quickly. It's starting to ramp up very quick, and the curve is getting steeper and steeper month on month for battery electric vehicles. So I think, it would be interesting. Hopefully it doesn't stay stuck in that Senate for too long, and we get some outcomes. So it'd be exciting.
Yep. Anybody know when the last day of Parliament is? That's kind of the deadline, isn't it? For this year anyway. Scott Cassidy says, please pass, as we are taking delivery of our EV on Saturday under a new lease. I don't think PHEV should be included, but if it does, then it should have a grace period of, say, 3 years. So, yeah, I tend to agree with that. There must be some sort of a limitation, I reckon, for PHEVs. Let's move on to the next bit of news, and there we go. 2024 Volkswagen ID4, ID5 electric SUVs, 5,000 examples for Australia in the first year. What do we say about not quoting production rates? There we go. There, right off the bat, 5,000 examples for next year for Australia. Look, that's exciting. I like. Let's welcome all EVs. If we can see 5,000 Volkswagens next year, then great. More power to them. Literally.
I guess the key question there would be the price that they come in. Because if they sort of price them at $65,000, then it makes it very hard for fleet buyers and other large sort of EV purchasing fleets to consider that over the ATO 3 or the MG. And then MG's got new products lined up next year as well, and BYD will be bringing more in as well. So it will be interesting. But yeah, I sort of agree about quoting numbers for the year.
Yep. Well, we'll definitely try and get it out of people, but I can see why they don't want to do it. Look, as you said, Riz, it's quite a hot market, that sort of small sedan, small SUV, hot hatch. People like that urban kind of vehicle, especially as our cities get denser in Australia: Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth, Canberra. So yeah, I think they'll do very well. All right, before we wrap up, let's do our final segment of tonight, which is Toyota Watch. And the slide I'm going to put up is, this is from Climate Council, Australia's Climate Council. And the question is, who's the cleanest of them all? And there's no surprises that Polestar and Tesla are leading the pack. They're 100% EVs now. And then the next sort of blue bars are Volvo, Ford and VW. They've got targets to meet. So Volvo has to be all EVs by 2030 and 2026 in Australia. 2035 for Ford, 2040 for VW. And then we've got Mazda, Hyundai, Kia, and Honda. They've got sort of mixed targets with percentages on years. And then Nissan and Mitsubishi, Orange. And then at the bottom, poor old Toyota. What does it say? 33% EVs by 2030. Jeez. And then Isuzu is no target. So yeah, there you go. Isuzu is worse than Toyota. Take some comfort in that, Toyota. But
I have to slightly disagree with this chart. Toyota has this self-charging battery electric vehicle technology where you don't need to charge it anywhere. It just charges itself. It's sort of perpetual motion at next level. So I wonder why, they're not up there. They should be above Tesla and Polestar.
Yeah, right. Self-charging. Full self-charging. FSC. Oh, dear. Well, I think we'll look back on that in 10 years' time and have a good chuckle, I think. Anyway, hopefully Toyota pick up their game. Let's see. All right, well, that's it for tonight, everyone. We're just going to put on coming up in the next couple of weeks now. So we've got, as I said, next week, 17th of November. Please join us. Robert Llewellyn, the one and only Crichton, is joining us to talk about Fully Charged, of course, coming to Sydney next year. So it'd be great to have him on and get your questions ready for him. And then we're also fortunate enough to have Larissa Mirabelli, who is the head of PR and communications from Polestar Australia, join us the week after that on the 24th of November. And of course, to talk about the Polestar concept, the Roadster concept, or Polestar 6, they call it. So it'd be great to have her as well. So great, excellent, nice couple of weeks coming up on the show. It's going to be fantastic. So much to look forward to in the run home to Christmas and the holiday season. And before we wrap up, I want to thank our live stream partners once again, Joa, Hansho, and EVSC. All the coupon codes are there on the screen or in the video description as well if you want to check them out. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us once again. Rahul, thank you.
Thanks so much, Tom. Great to chat with Dennis tonight. Great lineup coming up next few weeks. Just a couple of things. I've seen a couple of BYDs from Preston in Melbourne, which is a suburb close to me, to as far as Wonthaggi when we were away in regional Victoria. So you can see that the BYDs are really attracting a large market in that $40,000 range, which is great to see. And Riz, I might like to add, if you get yourself a Savic motorcycle, you no longer need your runners to go chase EVs, because all you need to do is put on your leathers and hop on your bike.
That's what I'm planning. So, Dennis, if you're watching, we're looking for sponsorship. We're looking for test rides.
Dennis, get Riz a build module, please. Get him a slot.
I vote Riz Savic ambassador. Yeah, 100%.
No, it was. Thanks, Rahul. It's
Oh dear. Your voice has gone very high, Riz. I think Riz has got a filter on. Try again. Oh. Okay. But, all right, we'll say goodnight to Riz. I think Riz has got the helium on in the background there, so apologies. But anyway, yep, I think we get the point. Yeah, it was quite amusing. But yeah, Riz makes the point. We thank you, Savic and Dennis, for coming on the show. We've got, here we go. Here's a message from them, from Dennis and the Savic MC team. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share our story and supporting Aussie EVs. Absolutely right. And look, Riz, I'm sure we can work something out. There you go. Right there. Absolutely. I want to see Riz and Leathers riding a Savic around Melbourne. That would be fantastic. And again, my thanks again to Dennis for coming on the show, being such a busy man and spending some time with us and answering our questions as well. Really appreciate it. All right, gents, Rose and Rahul, thank you once again. And thank you everyone for engaging tonight on the live chat too. If you missed out, leave a comment if you're watching on replay. Thank you for making this far. And of course, thank you for listening to us on podcast as well. All right, we'll see you all next week to chat with the one and only Robert Llewellyn. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you next week. As always, happy charging. Take care.